Welcome back, dear viewers. You're still watching Nile Cruise on Nile TV, a very special episode marking a very special day, which is the glory of the 6th of October, and from a very special place, which is the Museum of late President Anwar al-Sadat. Of course, a day marking history here in Egypt and in the entire world, a day of glory and victory. Dear viewers, from this museum, which contains a large collection of personal belongings of course, in photos and some personal collections that Mrs. Hany al-Sadat, the wife of the late President Anwar al-Sadat, dedicated to the museum, such as the marine suit in which the late president attended the opening ceremony of the Suez Canal in his own jacket and his famous stick, of course, and toothbrush and perfume. A lot, of course, of his belongings. It also contains a collection of rare memorial pictures of Sadat on various occasions, different occasions, including the image of his wives and children, and during the moments of meditation on his life, such as a picture of his pyramid resting and a picture of wudu, and of course when he was doing his own prayers, his daily prayers. And on this very special occasion, dear viewers, and to discuss this special place, we have with us Mr. Hany Gohary, who is a tour guide. A very good day, and it's a pleasure to have you with us in today's episode of Nile Cruise.
Mr. Hany, thank you very much for being with us today. If we can have a brief description of the Museum of Anwar al-Sadat in your point of view, and when was it established?
Yeah, President Sadat era is very important in Egyptian history. This is why we established the museum here, to display, especially for school children, that history of Egypt and the glory days of President Sadat. The museum started by his life, his personal life, where he was born, about his family, then about his studying and different schools and faculty of law for a short time, then military cadet, and then we talk about his family, his marriage, his children. We display that through photos. Then we display some of his real belongings, which we got from Mrs. Hany to the museum. She helped out in that. Then we have part of President Sadat as a colonel during the revolution against King Farouk. It was in 1952 as one of leaders of the revolution, or free officers. About different political titles which Sadat got during his life. As the first general of Gohary newspaper, also as a minister of state, then as a parliament spokesman, at last as the vice president of Nasser. After that, we display the time of President Sadat as the president of Egypt from 70 till 81. It was in October after vote. It was October 1970 till 1981. This sad day when President Sadat was shot during a military parade, and that parade, it was a celebration of 6 October victory. This we can say is a great day in the history of President Sadat.
Sir, the importance of the existence of such museums and how we can benefit from their existence to educate generations that have not, of course, contemplated to these leaders, including President Sadat.
Yeah, we can say that we teach them how from we can say a black circumstance and different and difficult things you can draw or open your way to success. I think the history of President Sadat and the story of President Sadat display that. Also about the victory of October, how that the strong defense line of Israeli troops, which usually the world called it is the strongest one in history of all it, and Egypt must have like a miracle to destroy that, or a nuclear bomb to destroy that huge ramp of sand. But by our commanders at that time and their believe in our land and must celebrating our land. We studied that for a long time. Sadat was quiet. He didn't, we can say, he didn't announce clearly for world that he will do any kind of war. And it was an unexpected time for Israeli troops at that time to choose that day. It was a forgiveness day in Israeli side, and Egypt was Ramadan. We can say that for children, you must plan secretly your life or your goal and how you can reach that goal.
On the other hand, we can see pictures of President Sadat during the operation room or in the operation room during the 1973 October War victory, and other pictures with President Sadat alongside other presidents from the entire world. How can these pictures be received by the students and the people coming to see the greatness of Egypt and the greatness of the late president?
Okay, we can say that the people usually love the place. We can say they were usually are surprised about these glory days, about the victory of October War and how we liberate our land by force. And after that, by peace way, when President Sadat called the world and Israeli themselves for peace in 1977. Also in the museum here we display some documents about the peace negotiations and letters between Sadat and President Carter at that time. So we can say usually the people are happy about the museum here and about these glory days of victory of October War and the tactics of Egyptian army at that time. Then the second step to liberate the land by peace, when President Sadat chose that peace way and called Israelis for peace in 1977. When he traveled to Israeli parliament, and we display all of that in the museum. Also we have some real documents, our letters between Sadat and Carter, display their view about peace in Middle East. We can say to solve your problem, you must plan your way and you must discuss different ways, not one. Usually, as we used to say, you have plan A, plan B, and C. I think Sadat did that till he get his land back completely in 1981.
Sir, you're a tour guide, of course, and we are here today at the Museum of late President Anwar al-Sadat, of course, a man of victory and a man of glory and a man of peace, of course. Sir, how do you promote for this place as a touristic guide?
As a tourist guide, if we talk about foreigners, because the place here
because
different
when you come to discuss children, the generation that come to visit to the museum, this is part of the syllabus that they study. So they have to do this. It's part of their daily work that they have to come here and they have to study this and they have to see it. What about the tourists that have to come to this very special place and visit and see the belongings of this very special person?
Yeah, we can say this according to the discussing of the tourists and about the history of Egypt and what the conflict or what's the problem between Egypt and Israel or Arab countries. Usually different foreigners got this idea of the Arab hate of against Israel. For that, we discussed this idea from the peace view of President Sadat, and we did all of that and this war of 6 October to get our land back, and this land was occupied Israeli side. We can say the Israelis who started to attack or to get the hate of Egypt and the Arab countries. We got war and launched this war to get our land back. Sadat called them for peace. All we did just to get our land back. If we get our land back, we can live together in peace. This is the idea for the tourists usually.
How do we promote to the tour? How do we let the tourists know about this place to come and visit?
According to the touring with me, I told them about you must know about all of Egypt, not in the first time. You must know about the modern time and especially from 1973, because this is a great change of Egyptian land.
Speaking about the story of every item, because we can see suits of the late president, we can see the ties of President Sadat. What is the story behind every item here in the museum, more specifically the ones behind us?
We can say this, some of his clothes which he used during his life, and usually we display the item or the belonging and also a photo for President Sadat in the same clothes. The suits, the military suit, this is one of his suits during the celebration in Egyptian army after October War, especially in the inauguration of Suez Canal in 1975. His coat, usually he wrote that wears his coat during his prayer in Al-Gum'ah. Okay, this one of famous coats.
The
brown
cape,
one.
Yeah.
it's the cape, huh?
Yeah, the cape, and it was like a gift from the king of Saudi Arabia, was King Faisal. About his, can say, the long robe or galabeya, this our national costume. Sadat proud of his roots to the Egyptian countryside, and most of photos here, his personal photos in this galabeya. For that we displayed it also here. He was famous for smoking tobacco through pipes. For that we display also some of them. One of them, it was with him during his journey to Israeli parliament.
How do you use the collection that you have here that belongs to President Anwar al-Sadat in storytellings when when tourists come with you and you come to explain to them every belonging of President Anwar al-Sadat?
Yeah, we usually, I told them about the belonging or the item and how Sadat used it in his life, like the Holy Quran or his book. We talk about how he recited the Quran, and he was, can say, one of God believers, and used to pray the 5 prayers in a day. Also about his military suit, he can say he was proud of his also his military background as one of the officers. About also the Galabeya, the countryside, we usually talk about each one and why this is important in the museum here for and why we displayed it for the tourists.
When a group of tourists come here in the museum of Anwar al-Sadat, do you think that it is more interesting to be speaking about the childhood of the late president, about the marriage of the president, the years behind the scenes of the October War victory? Is it interesting for them?
Yes, because we can say generally most of tourists know about Sadat, but a little bit about his war and peace, especially peace side. But they didn't know about his childhood, about how he became the president of Egypt. For that we display each picture here, especially the beginning of the museum, about his birthday in 1918 in Mita Bilkoum, one of the small village in Al-Manufiyya. About his family, he was in, can say, a family, you can say, in the middle class of Egypt. He was not so rich. He get to different schools till he joined the military academy. It was in 1938 when he graduated from it as officer in signal department. Then we talk about his national activities against the British occupation and how he established different groups or joined different groups in Egyptian army against the British till they jailed him for a few years, and he was expelled from his military rank at that time. And at that time he met Mrs. Jihan, and they loved together, we can say that, till they married. 1952 he returned back to the army, but he's still also in his political activities, and he refused British occupation and losing of Palestine. For that he joined also the Free Officers movement, and he became one of the leaders of the revolution against the kingdom.
Sir, of course, President Anwar al-Sadat was married to Mrs. Jihan al-Sadat, which was one of the very influential personalities in Egyptian history. Could you tell us more about Mrs. Jihan al-Sadat, please?
Yeah, Mrs. Jihan is half Egyptian and half British. Her father is Egyptian, but her mother is British. She know President Sadat or met President Sadat according to one of her cousins. He was a close friend of President Sadat. His name is Hassan. And we can say she had some meetings with President Sadat. She was affected by his character and about his goal to liberate his land from British and to get a good country, a new country for his people. Mrs. Jihan, although she was wife of the president, but she completed her study till she got the BH in Arab literature. And I think after his death, she worked as a professor in Maryland University, or Maryland faculty as professor of Arab literature also.
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Hany Al-Gohary, the tour guide, thank you very much for being with us today on Nile Cruise.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, dear viewers, and thank you very much. Stay with us, and we'll be back again.